This story is a powerful fable that reveals how injustice works when power is placed above truth. At first glance, it seems simple. A lamb drinks water, a wolf appears, and the wolf eats the lamb. But beneath this simplicity lies a deep lesson about human behavior, authority, and cruelty. The lamb represents innocence, weakness, and honesty. She is not doing anything wrong. She is simply drinking water early in the morning, a moment that symbolizes peace, purity, and harmless existence. There is no conflict until the wolf arrives. The wolf enters the story already hungry, already seeking to satisfy his desire. His hunger is important because it shows that his intention is fixed from the beginning. He is not looking for justice or truth, he is looking for a victim. The wolf's behavior reveals something very important about tyranny. Instead of immediately attacking the lamb, he chooses to accuse her. This shows hypocrisy. The wolf wants to appear justified, even to himself. Tyrants often do this. They do not want to admit that they act out of greed, hunger, fear, or cruelty. Instead, they create moral or legal excuses to cover their actions. The wolf accuses the lamb of muddying the stream. This accusation is clearly false, and the story makes sure the audience understands this by placing the wolf upstream and the lamb downstream. Nature itself proves the lamb's innocence. Water flows downward, not upward. This detail emphasizes that truth is on the lamb's side, not just morally but logically and physically. The lamb responds with politeness and reason. She does not insult the wolf or challenge his authority. She calls him "Your Highness," showing respect even when she is being treated unfairly. This reflects how innocent or powerless people often behave in real life. They believe that if they speak calmly, explain clearly, and show respect, justice will prevail. The lamb trusts in reason. She believes that truth has power. However, the story shows us a painful reality. Truth only matters when the powerful are willing to accept it. When the wolf's first accusation fails, he does not stop. Instead, he invents another one. He accuses the lamb of insulting him the previous year. This is a common tactic of injustice. When facts fail, invent history. The lamb again answers honestly, explaining that she was not even born the year before. Her answer is logical, calm, and undeniable. At this point, it becomes clear that the wolf is not interested in the truth at all. Each accusation is weaker than the last, yet the wolf grows more aggressive rather than embarrassed. This shows that tyranny is not corrected by logic. In fact, logic often unjairs tyrants because it exposes their lies. The wolf then shifts the blame to the lamb's brother, and when that fails, to someone in her family. This vague accusation shows how injustice works when it becomes desperate. When specific lies fail, tyrants turn to general blame. Entire families, groups, or communities are accused instead of individuals. Evidence is no longer required. Guilt becomes inherited, imagined, or collective. The lamb's innocence becomes irrelevant. What matters is that the wolf wants to eat her, and he will say anything to justify it. The most honest moment in the story comes when the wolf finally admits that he does not intend to be talked out of his breakfast. This single line exposes the truth behind all tyranny. The decision to harm was made from the start. The arguments were never real. They were only decorations to hide cruelty. This moment teaches a harsh lesson. Sometimes, the oppressor knows the victim is innocent and does not care. Justice is not ignored because of ignorance, but because of choice. When the wolf seizes the lamb and carries her off, the ending feels sudden and cruel, just like real injustice. There is no rescue, no punishment for the wolf, no reward for the lamb's goodness. This lack of a happy ending is intentional. The fable does not comfort the audience with false hope. Instead, it forces the audience to confront reality. Innocence does not always survive. Truth does not always win. Power often decides outcomes, not morality. The closing lines of the story clearly state the moral, but they also challenge the reader. The tyrant can always find an excuse for his tyranny, explains that oppression is rarely honest. Tyrants dress cruelty in the language of law, order, tradition, or punishment. They accuse their victims to justify their actions. The unjust will not listen to the reasoning of the innocent. reminds us that fairness requires willingness. Without moral integrity, even the strongest arguments are useless. This story remains relevant because the wolf and the lamb exist in every era. They exist in politics, in workplaces, in schools, and in societies. The wolf represents anyone who holds power and uses it selfishly. The lamb represents those who are vulnerable, voiceless, or marginalized. The stream represents truth, and the conversation represents the illusion of justice. The story teaches us that injustice often pretends to be fair while being deeply corrupt. At a deeper level, the story warns against blind faith in reason alone. Reason is valuable, but it cannot stop violence when violence refuses to listen. This does not mean reason is useless, but it means it needs protection. Justice requires systems, courage, and accountability, not just logic. The lamb had truth, but she had no power to defend it. The wolf had no truth, but he had power, and that was enough. The fable also encourages awareness. It teaches listeners to recognize false accusations and shifting narratives. When someone changes their reasons repeatedly, it often means the reasons were never real. When authority refuses to listen, it is often because the decision has already been made. Understanding this helps people avoid being deceived by false justifications. Ultimately, the story is not just about animals. It is about the human condition. It shows how cruelty hides behind excuses and how innocence suffers when power is unchecked. It reminds us that justice is fragile and must be actively defended. The lamb's voice may be silenced in the story, but the lesson speaks loudly to those who listen. It urges us not to become wolves, not to trust wolves blindly, and not to assume that truth alone will always protect the lambs of the world.